then I want to start with saying what are some of the things that cause conflict in marriage. All right, we know marriage is God's idea. Genesis 2, from verse 22, when God caused Adam to sleep, and then he took one of his ribs, closed it, and out of that God made a woman and brought her to Adam. Adam said, now this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Praise the Lord. Don't worry, those are fruits of marriage. So try not to let it bother us. Now, you see, Adam said here, she's the flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. But you find, I think, is it the next chapter, that Adam now said, it is this woman you gave me. So you ask yourself, why is it that marriage steps out being, I love you, then suddenly I can't stand you? So the same things, and you wonder, has anything changed? No, it's the same people. It's just that the journey of marriage is you have to learn how to work it for it to work for you. Many a times people marry, we say opposite poles attract, right? Okay, so marriage helps us. You start with two people that have different temperaments, different, will I put it, life types. And that's what attracts you to the person. That's what you love. But with time, that thing you love, if not well managed, will be the same thing that will repel you. If you don't manage it well, it will be the same thing. So what are some of the causes of conflicts in marriages? One of them is unmet expectation. Unmet expectation is, there are things people expect when they are getting married. People have all kinds of ideas about what marriage is. And many of us, before we got married, we had different ideas of what marriage really is. And people had different expectations, different reasons why they marry. And when people get into marriage and what they were expecting is not what they are getting, conflicts start. And one of the things that bring this conflict is because we assume that our spouses know what we need and know what to do about it. Very common. You may not know it, but that's just the truth. You assume your wife should know what you need. You assume your husband knows what you need and knows what to do about it. And when he doesn't respond that way, it's a problem. So people quarrel about lifestyle, finances, children, all those kind of things because of unmet expectation. I expected you should do this. I expected this should have happened. I expected this. So you need to know that you are marrying a person and you need to communicate. So one is unmet expectations. Number two is also, as the marriage progresses, you have other things like finances coming. Handling of finances can breed conflict in marriage. I was reading something and it said about 22% of divorces are financially related. They are financially related. Spending habits. I mean, you don't really know your spouse spending habit until you are living together. He takes you out, buys you things during the time you are courting, and then you people plan your wedding together. But it's when you are now living together that the real person life shows up. So finances, spending habits. And then people start discovering what I call hidden money trails. There are some movements of money that cannot be clearly defined. That brings conflict. Some people feel they are getting the short end of the stick. I'm not getting enough. Priority in allocation of finances. In-laws, out-laws, siblings. How do you manage it? Conflict starts coming. And everybody tends to what? Defend their territory, right? Yeah. You have to defend your territory. It's almost as if your mother sent you there to go and defend her territory or your own. So everybody is defending their territory. And then we start seeking for advice for those who will reinforce the battle. How do I do this? You know, it looks like he's losing the battle, so he needs to go to an auntie and say, what do we do? You want to reinforce it so that you can have a counter-offensive. So those are things. Finances are causes of divorce. In fact, in the U.S., it's not so common here. People kill their spouses because of money. I'll explain to you that because you have what is called life insurance. But here, you tell a man to take life insurance, and he looks at you and said, it looks like you are planning my death. If I ask how many of you have life insurance, almost nobody does. Because if you have to, and then things like writing will, nobody's writing will. Now, if your husband says he wants to write his will, he say, God forbid, you will not die. Or the wife tells the husband, go and write a will. The man will look at her and tell his brother, do you know, my wife asked me to write will. He said, be careful about that woman. So, in those places, people take out insurance, premium insurance, that could be what, 50,000, 100,000. And then a year later, the spouse is dead. And who is the beneficiary? The other spouse. So many a times when there is a case of murder among couples, the primary suspect is the spouse, the husband or the wife. That's where they start from. And then they start checking, was there any insurance that was taken and how much is it? Who is the beneficiary? And some very crazy people who were referred to as serial killers married serially for such things. So finance is a big conflict. Who pays the student, who pays the children's school fees? Who pays the house rent, especially if two of you are working, is a source of conflict. How do we manage the funds? If we have a joint account, how do we manage the spending? Who do we spend more on? Is it my people or your people? Praise the Lord. So finance is a very big source of conflict. And then you have children. We love to have children. It can be a source of conflict. When to start having children, how many children to have, is a source of conflict. What is the gender of the child is another source of conflict. As small and as simple as it is, these are sources of conflict. Not having a child is a source of conflict. Having too many children is a source of conflict. Why did you allow yourself to get pregnant? You know we agreed we will stop at number 2. Why did you allow yourself to get pregnant? As if she impregnated herself. And it's a conflict. So it's a big source of conflict. And then you have children, you have male, male, male. And they say, why male, male, male? You have female, female. You say, why are you having female, female? As if it is her fault. But the society doesn't, the culture, not society. And society doesn't help much in that. So children, again, as the children come, they are supposed to be a source of blessing. But then there begins to be issues about neglect, abandonment. One of them begins to feel, how do you call it now? Neglected. Because the children have come in. They become the center of attraction. And there's a different way which different people handle it. Some of the men become very angry that the wives are not paying attention to them anymore. They're paying attention more to the children. And then as the children grow up, the wife becomes angry that the husband is giving more attention to the daughter. Yes. Conflicts. Simple, small things. So when there is a family quarrel or when there is a family argument, you see some of the children band towards the father, some band towards the mother. It's a conflict. So we need to be very careful. Parenting styles and responsibilities. And the man says, well, you should take care of the children. You should do their homework. So the woman is overlabored with cooking, doing a whole lot of things, and then she has to do the homework. If the child is not doing well, the father is angry. If the child is doing well, very well, the father claims responsibility. That's my child. That's my son. If he's not doing well, he says, you are not paying attention to these children. So these are sources of conflicts and different kinds of things. There are those who believe their children should go to a school where they pay 1 million. Well, others says, well, why spend all that money? But because their friends' children are going to that school, it becomes a sort of conflict. So the man has to borrow, take loan, just to make sure that the child goes to that school. Big time challenge. Because he wants to keep up with the Joneses. So we need to be careful about these as sources of conflict. Now, another source is allocation of time. Allocation to marriage and personal pursuits. What time do you give to each other? What time do you give to your job? A man doesn't mind stopping the woman from going to work if he feels that she's becoming too, what do they call it now? Career-minded. Is a career woman. She's pursuing her career. She wants promotion. She's going to work early. She's coming back so late because she's earning promotion. The boss is very happy with her productivity. But it's a problem with the man. The man says, so what happens to the family? You are putting your job ahead of the family. So it's a source of what? Conflict. There are some who will go to any extent to make sure that woman is fired because it begins to breed, there's an ego war. There's a competition in the home now. The woman is going up. And after a while, the man will say, don't talk to me anyhow. Just because you are the head in your office doesn't mean you are the head in this house. You are transferring your position in the office to the position in the house. These are real things. Very, very real things. And we are human beings, so we have our ego and we have our, how do I put it now? We have our complexes we are dealing with. The moment a woman is making more money than the man, there's some strain that comes in if it's not well managed. Then the man is making more money than the woman, there's a feeling of neglect because I'm not doing anything. That's why you're not talking about my family. When I bring up my family issues, you don't say anything. And the man says, go and get a job. So, and the man says, I'm the one that is, I'm carrying all the responsibilities and all those things. So, personal pursuits, if not well managed, can cause conflict. Can cause serious conflicts. Praise the Lord. Of course, we know such issues as a situation whereby maybe a limited, educated person marries a young lady and decides he will help her further her education. And by the time she has reached a particular place in her educational capacity, she feels she has overgrown that man. It's no longer her level. It's a problem. She now has a new set of people she relates with, but that man is not up to her level again. The same thing with the woman. So these are causes of conflict in marriages. And of course, it's not strange that we have conflicts in marriages. Because if you look at marriage, look at it this way. Two different people. Marriage is a union of two different people, right? From different backgrounds. Okay? Now look at it this way. Two selfish people coming from different backgrounds with different personalities. That is already a very, very, how will I put it? It's already well, I wouldn't say risk. There is combustion already building. All right? Now you add to it some bad habits. Because everybody is coming with some bad habits. Yeah. So you see it's becoming a conflict zone already. Yeah. And then you add some expectations that are not met. Now you top it up with the daily struggles we have. The stress that is out there in the society. Then you know that any little thing can trigger conflict in marriage. But God does not want us to just function on the level of the flesh.